And then at the end of your lecture, just like click the stop button.
Okay. Okay, yes, this is just the command you want to do. It takes like a minute or so you can get that started now. And then the other step we're going to do is, I hope you guys are familiar with changing the terminal's directory, but you're going to want to navigate the terminal to your new project's directory. So wherever you saved it, and I can demonstrate that for you now. So many tabs, man. Okay. But yeah, like a handy little trick also when you're doing terminal stuff is you can, if I can find it. I hate your mouse, Jihuan. This is not my computer. Okay. The one trick you can do that's like a minute to do the trick is you can drag the file in. I don't know if you guys know this, and that'll just navigate the terminal to that directory. So you want to make sure make sure you do bigger, yes. And so you're also going to do sudo gem install Cocoapods. Jihuan should already have it installed, but that's the command. You'll hit enter. That'll help install it. And then you're also going to want to navigate the terminal to the directory where your project is. And you can do that by just either using git know-how, or you can just drag that folder wherever it is into the terminal. Okay. Has everybody installed Cocoapods? And have you navigated any trouble navigating the terminal? Okay, feel free to ask questions. This is not an ideal setup. I'll go over it again. All right, cool. So once you've installed Cocoapods, once you've navigated in this folder, you're going to run pod init. And what this is going to do is create the pod file, kind of the list of all the dependencies in your project. And it starts out as blank for now. And if we navigate to, let's open the desktop here. So here I have my lecture 6, and look, I have a pod file. So we can just take a look at that. And it's just kind of a blank slate. You list all your dependencies here. Use frameworks is for Swift. And we'll get back to this in a sec, but before we get into actually including pods here, we're going to run pod install real quick in the terminal. So pod install, as I've listed here, basically it like initializes the workplace. And a workplace is kind of like a fancier, it's different than an Xcode project. As of now, all of you guys have made Xcode projects. But when you, the way Cocoapods works is it creates another Xcode project full of your libraries. And so Xcode has something called a workspace, which handles multiple projects. So when you run pod install for the first time, you're going to see an Xcode workspace is going to be created, pod file lock is going to be created. It's basically going to set up your project to be able to like understand the dependencies and libraries. But the important thing is when you do this is you need to then access the workspace instead of the project. And I will show exactly what that means. Okay. So you have our pod file. We're going to run pod install. And it's not going to install anything because there's no dependencies. But you'll see the message here too is please use the workspace from now on. So the existing thing we have open, you'll see it's already freaking out a bit. You can just exit out. And now we're going to open the workspace that appeared, which is right here. And then you'll see we have everything as we had before. And now we'll have a new thing for pods. And you can actually access the pod file right through Xcode as well. Is anybody having trouble with this step? What's going on?
Saying you need at least Git version 1.8.5 to use Cocoapods.
Did you sudo gem install Cocoapods? Okay. Do you want to help them install it? There's other ways, or?
So you should tell them that they should use
Oh, okay. Yeah. Atia will try to help you with that. Does anybody else have not here? What's up?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you run pod install?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you workspace up here? She'll help you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Can you say what folder you have to go into?
What thing?
What internal folder you have to go?
Yeah, sure. Like which directory?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just want to enter the directory where your project is. So wherever you have your project, I mean, usually like, see, I have lecture 6 here.
Yeah.
Where's it? Yeah, so you want to basically navigate to this directory. Like you'll just have lecture 6, and you'll have an Xcode project. You'll navigate to there, then you run pod init. Does it look like that now?
Let me check.
Who's opened their workspace? Raise your hands if you have the workspace open and you're good to go. Okay, a few people. Yeah.
My Finder directory looks like yours, but when I actually open up Xcode, it doesn't.
Are you opening the workspace or the project?
So if I open the workspace.
Yeah, the workspace is where you should see your original project and then the pods project.
Oh no.
Yep. You just make sure you expand the folders here. If you have both of these blue things, you're probably in good shape. Anybody else having any issues? You should have your workspace open. You can go on the pod file if you like. But yeah, when you're using pods, the one thing is you have to open the workspace from here on out to then access the pods. It won't work if you just open the project. I'll wait a few more minutes here.
You just create a project. And then now you can open. So where's the project located? And then open the doc. Okay. So and then you can see on the side how your pod.
Yeah, he did.
Does anybody still need help?
So you get both stuff directly when you are in this creates hot file, this creates a file. And here you can work well now, and then you find the and then so you just have to see into the directory before you run my
All right, I'm going to start moving on. Don't worry, the TAs can help you catch up. I'm just going to show a quick demo of what we're gonna build here and how we're going to set up the dependencies. So we're going to make kind of a little iTunes search wrapper using the iTunes Search API, which is public, free to use, And hopefully by the end of this, using pods, we'll be able to load iTunes songs in a little UI table view controller. It's real bare bones in terms of like constraints and views and all that, because we really want to kind of teach the networking and pods aspect. But the two pods we're going to use is AlamoFire and SwiftlyJSON. AlamoFire is for kind of a nicer way of handling like web requests, HTTP requests. It's a little, I mean, you can very much do it without the pod, but this is kind of a nice wrapper that has like a lot of, when I say wrapper, it's kind of like a nicer class around existing functionality, where it's just like a little easier to interact with and do kind of common URL requests. And SwiftlyJSON is similar in that sense, where it's just kind of a better interface for working with JSON, which is a kind of a popular type for passing around data on the web. And if we get far enough too, we can even like load a preview of the song. We'll see how the lecture goes. But the main thing we're going to try to knock out is this. And we're going to do that, as I said, with AlamoFire and SwiftlyJSON. So this syntax right here is all you're going to need to add to your pod file. And I will do that right now. You should navigate to your pod file. Make sure you expand all the blue icons here. You just go to pod file here. And also, as also mentioned too, you want to try to use Xcode or some sort of like kind of coding text editor to edit this. You don't want to just do it like raw in text edit. But all we're going to do is we're going to add pod AlamoFire and pod SwiftlyJSON. And so these come from the people that make this software. Like they tell you what to like put in this space. Like it's usually whatever the project is called. And you can add additional things. Like you can specify like I want AlamoFire, but I want the 3.0 version. I can try to pull it from a certain Git branch. There's a whole lot of options you can do. But really just boils down to you just got to get the name of the pod right. And when you look up open source libraries on GitHub or whatever, they always have usually a nice README that'll tell you, hey, put this in your pod file. So once we've got that, we're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to run pod install again. And it's going to do the same thing, but now see we'll have in green here, it's actually installing libraries because we added this time. So you're going to run pod install again once you change your pod file. If you have any issues, make sure it's spelled right. Use single quotes. And you should have something that looks like this. And you've installed your first libraries. Congrats. Yeah, who hasn't? Who has not installed the dependencies? No worries. Okay. So it seems like the majority of classes install these right, so I'm going to keep on going. Just raise your hand. Our wonderful TAs will hopefully help. Yeah, so now that we've installed these libraries, we're going to work on building that demo I just showed before. So the first thing real quick I'm going to change is this is going to be a search view controller, and it's going to be a UI table view controller. I'm just changing the boilerplate they gave us. And then, as usual, since we work programmatically, we're going to want to add our usual defining our window. So you've probably written something along the lines of this before. Okay, so you guys have probably seen this at some point. Let me see if I can make this a little better. What's it complaining about here? Oh, yeah. What do you call it? Okay, but yeah. Hopefully you've seen this in some sort. This just makes sure so we don't have to deal with storyboards. And then we can dive into it. So we're trying to make a way to call up songs or whatever. So we're going to need